All right, what's up, everyone? So today we're gonna talk about. I got a question. I did a Q&A on Instagram. Kind of put the old question thing up there in my stories, and got a good question that was just a more of a long-winded one for like a short little thing to type up on the stories there, and it was how to eat in a surplus but healthy. So a lot of times, or basically, let's dumb it down to how to build muscle, how to eat to build muscle, but with doing it healthy, whatever. How to eat healthy and gain muscle, because you see a lot of times it can be tough. Oh, it's tough to eat that much, and or you hear people all the bodybuilding way. Oh, the dirty bulk or the bulking, and I don't deal in bulking and cutting. Those are like bodybuilding terms. It's more you want to lose fat or you want to build muscle, or you want to maintain weight, build lean mass. Those types of things. Whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. Everyone's going to use their own terms. But let's say you just want to build muscle, add some good quality weight for whatever. Maybe it's just to help you in sports, just to be bigger, better, stronger, faster. Those things. You just want to look better, build muscle. You don't want to be a skinny wiener anymore. You don't want to be a fat turd anymore. You want to have muscle. You want to look good. You want to feel good. You want to be able to take your shirt off at the pool. Because let's be honest, muscle looks a lot better than fat. Looks a lot better than being a skinny little twig, where you're all skin and bones. So let's talk about. The question was, how do you eat in a surplus, which you need to do to build muscle. You want to be in a surplus, which just means you're eating more calories than you're burning, but not doing it the old crappy way of just eating a bunch of junk, putting on a bunch of fat. Yeah, you're going to build some muscle, but you're going to be just a fat slob too. Then you got to cut it all away. Like the old typical bodybuilder. You eat a bunch, you gain a bunch of weight in the off season, then you lose some weight, lose some of that fat by dieting down, and then you just look the same because maybe you put on a pound of muscle over that. So, because again, you shouldn't want to be eating junk. It's just American way of what we do now, because it's so normalized, is just to eat junky food all the time. Whether it's cookies or cakes or fast food or whatever it may be, that's basically normalized. That's normal behavior. And we don't want that. You shouldn't want that. You should want to be better. And if you do, then this is for you. If you want to put on some good muscle, build some biceps, build some triceps, build some abs, some big legs. Then let's talk about, we're going to talk about how to eat well to build that muscle, to gain some weight. Because it can be hard, because again, when you're eating real food, what am I saying? The whole nutrient dense foods you're getting from animals, foods you are getting from the earth. We are omnivores as humans. Eat food, eat meat, eat plants. So again, don't really need to break down those. We know, everyone knows what they are, and if you don't, you can type it in Google. It's not that hard. Or watch one of my other videos. Subscribe to my page. I go in depth in those types of things. We'll break it down a little bit, but don't need to break down what those are. Think your foods from animals, your meats, your eggs, your dairy, that type of stuff. Again, some people might have intolerances. That's fine. Eggs, those types of things. You got to work within here. That's why nutrition is so specific to each individual. It's not here's this template, here's this thing. Like I see these dietitians and people putting out, oh, here's a specific plan for a football player or a volleyball player or a 40-year-old dude who sits on the couch all day. That doesn't work, because that 40-year-old dude is different than another 40-year-old dude who's sitting on the couch all day, who's different than another 40-year-old dude. There's general ideas and things that work for majority of people, like eating real food, eating a lot of protein, eating carbs and fats. uh, drinking a lot of water, those general ideas, but you got to figure out what's going to work for you, the person in the mirror, you, the individual. Follow some general templates, some general ideas, some principles, not templates, I should say, principles. And then, again, experiment, play around. Because maybe I can eat eggs, a ton of eggs, or I can eat a lot of dairy and be good. Maybe you can't. Maybe you're intolerant, something like that. So, again, there's general principles to follow, but again, nutrition breaks down to the specificity of each individual person. But again, but we want to do this quote unquote clean or healthy, or just how humans are meant to eat. I saw another post again, and I've used this in the past. That's why I've done all this stuff, so I can make fun of myself, make fun of other people for it. So that's what I'm gonna do. If you get offended, too bad. Don't be a big baby about everything. But I used to always say, "Oh, let's stop eating like a child" to a lot of my adult clients or in my content, and I was thinking about that. Stop eating like a child. Children eat like they do because adults eat the same exact way. It's not. It's actually eating like an adult. Eating junk food, eating fast food, eating crappy food all the time. That ultra processed stuff. Because that has become the normal way of eating in our society. We don't eat, and I kind of changed my thinking to eat like humans are supposed to eat. Again, foods from earth, foods from animals. That's how humans are changed over the millions of years or however long we've been around. Yes, industrialization and processing has come around, and processing is not bad. You need to process all food. You don't just go out and bite into a cow or start sucking on a cow's teeth. That's probably not what you're going to be doing. Maybe you do, then you're probably weird. You might want to head to somewhere and get checked out. But because you got to get the cow, you butcher it, and then you go to the store and buy the meat, or go to the farmer and buy the meat from them, and then you cook it. That's how you should be doing, because you're probably going to get sick if you're eating raw crap all the time. Or milk, you can eat the raw milk, but you're usually not drinking it right out of the cow. That'd be kind of weird. So you gotta cooking. There's some foods that need to be processed to make it maybe last a little longer or easier to package and ship and buy. So there's always those processes. But again, it's the minimally processed, the stuff that's not a bunch of added stuff. And think of I like the way Mike Dolce puts it, is single ingredients. So an apple is an apple. Yes, if you break it down into the scientific terms, I know there's a bunch of other things you can break down. Banana's banana. Beef is beef. But so think of those. You take those single ingredient foods and then you make your own food. So again, cooking is one of the best skills you can have. You don't have to be good or great. You can just make meals that are delicious. So too many people claim that eating healthy or eating good is hard. It's because doesn't taste good. Then you just don't know how to cook. You don't know or you don't have someone who cooks well for you. Maybe you suck at cooking, but maybe your spouse or wife or husband or kid or mom or dad or whatever makes good food. They're a good cook. So utilize them. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to taste good for you, whatever you like. But, and they say it's hard. It's just so much easier to eat a bunch of junk food. Well, of course, that's the reason it's junk food, because it doesn't have the nutrients that real whole nutrient dense food has. So yeah, it can be tougher when you're coming to eat these healthy foods. I keep saying healthy, but again, it should be looked at as normal, and it just sounds so weird to me that we look at healthy food as it's got to label it as healthy food. No, that's just good food it's food that's good for you. But this food is nutrient dense, so one of the biggest pushbacks is it's hard to eat that much. And it can be harder because these foods actually have nutrients, vitamins, minerals, besides the macros, the proteins, the carbs, and the fat, that actually fill you up. So it's harder to eat more, which you probably don't need to eat as much because these foods are filling you up more. They're giving your body what it wants, what it needs. But again, so eating protein, that's going to be more satiating. Eating fiber, that's going to be more satiating. So you're not likely to eat as much. So it can be a little bit more challenging to shove down more food into your gullet and just chow down. Whereas you could go grab a sleeve of Oreos and that package is gone in the matter of 10 minutes. Or a whole pint of ice cream can be gone in 10 seconds. If you're me, eat the whole freaking thing in 2 minutes. Just scarf that stuff down. Like, I don't know, I must get that from my dad. Maybe that's genetic. No, it's not. It's just a choice. It's just the craving, the thing. It's that food that makes you want to eat more and more and more. That's why I modified that way to do so. But when you're eating these steaks and beef and chicken and fruits and vegetables, it's harder to eat more. You don't hear too many people just eating 10 apples in one sitting. That's because apples got a lot of fiber. They got a lot of other nutrients and vitamins and minerals in there. So it's harder to eat because they actually fill you up. So if you are trying to get in a surplus, again, a surplus, you want to be in a surplus to build muscle. Of course, if you're eating too much, you're going to build fat. And if you're gaining weight, you're going to add some fat. That's just, for the most part, a matter of fact. If you want to try to minimize that. That's why doing it, the quote-unquote healthy nutrition plan, the healthy diet, is you can minimize that. So when I say surplus, again, that means you're eating more calories than you're burning. So let's say you determine that your maintenance and your metabolism, your calories are going to change depending on the activity, depending on how much sleep, your gender, your weight, your height, all this stuff. There's so many different factors. That's why it can be tough to determine just an exact number. But if you track your weight a while enough, track measurements, you look in the mirror, take photos, progress pictures, you can generally see. If you can get like DEXA scans, normally that's a good way, but that can get expensive too. So just kind of using the mirror, that type of thing, the scale as ways to track progress. That's a good way to track it. So let's say your maintenance calories, let's to make it easy, let's say it's 2,000. That's pretty low for a lot of people. Like mine is probably around 2,800, 3,000 somewhere. Like I can eat 3,000 calories and stay the same weight. I can lose weight on 3,000 calories. I'm 160 pounds. So that's because I'm active. I sleep a lot. I move a lot. I'm not sitting a lot. I mean, I sit a good amount, but I'm active. I do my own training. I train clients, so I move in that. I get 15,000 plus steps in a day. So I'm active. That meaning I need more calories. If you're like an elite athlete, like the Olympics are going on, they need tons and tons of calories. Football, you need a lot of calories, especially even when it's hot. You're sweating more, you're gonna need more calories. You're moving a lot. You're doing something active. You got an active job. Maybe you're a construction worker or I don't know, a concrete worker. Someone who's a city worker who's out mowing lawns and streets and working in the streets and those types of things. You're moving a lot. You're going to need more calories. Whereas if you're just a desk worker, you're not as active. You got to take in all these factors to figure that out. And this isn't going to be about figuring out your surplus, how to do that. I've done videos on that. If you got questions on that, let me know. We can do a consult and talk about what you need to do to figure that out. But again, let's just say your maintenance calories are 2,000. So you eat 2,000 calories, you're going to stick right around that same weight. So let's say in surplus would be anything above that. You don't want to jump right to 3,000 because that's probably going to add a lot of unwanted weight. So maybe you're going to go 200, 300 gram or calories above that, something like that, something small to start, and just track that for a week. You don't want this to be just a quick, oh, added 5 pounds in 1 week, because that just means you probably added a lot of fat, water weight, unwanted weight, not the good muscle. We want muscle. We want to build muscle. So getting to that surplus, getting into that is important. And it can be, if you're not eating a lot, you got to work your way up. You don't just jump to things too. It's just like training. You don't just jump into full speed sprints if you haven't done sprints in 10 years. Or you don't just jump to 300-pound squat if you've never squatted before. Maybe you can. If you are, more power to you. But a lot of time it takes time to build up to get your body used to it. Same with nutrition. So working your way up and taking it slowly. Think of muscle gain as again, that slow, long journey. The marathon, not the sprint. So maybe it's like your goal is to add 0.25 to half a pound per week, something like that. And again, it's going to be all dependent on each individual. Let's say that's a good, rough starting goal. Maybe add a pound or so a month in weight, 2 pounds in weight. Again, some people, if you're newer, you're probably going to add muscle quicker. For someone like me who's been training for 15 plus years, it's going to take longer. Because my body's been beat up, been put through a lot, and just takes a lot more time. So again, we know we have to be in a surplus. We don't want to be in a huge surplus. You gradually increase it as you go, but we want to be making sure we're eating enough protein. Again, they always say the rough goal is a gram per pound. Again, think being as protein is satiating, so it's harder to eat. You're not going to go in and eat 5 pounds of chicken breast in one sitting where you could eat 5 pounds of ice cream. That's going to be tough, especially with chicken, because chicken a lot of times can be dry. But eating beef or anything like that that's got a lot of protein. Yeah, the fattier beef, you probably eat more of that. But we're talking leaner cuts. So make sure you're getting enough protein. I tend to stick even higher. I'm 160 pounds, like I said. I like to eat close to 200 grams of protein a day. That's just me, personally. Again, I've experimented with everything from lower to higher, and this fits with me. Helps fill me up, but it's not enough to where I'm not going to eat my carbs and fats and get my calories. So again, find what works for you. So you want to be eating protein. Get your protein dialed in first. Find out what works for you, the amount. Typically, a good rough start is 1 gram per pound. If you're eating if you're a 200-pound person and you're eating 100 grams right now, that's not enough. And if you're active, that's definitely not enough. But work your way up. Again, don't just jump right up. You don't need to jump right up. Maybe it's 125, then 150, 175. And you're just working your way up week by week. You're getting your body used to adding more rather than just jumping from 50 to 200 grams of protein, because that's probably just gonna clog you up, and it's gonna be really tough to do. But then figure out your fats. So your fats, I typically 0.3 to 0.5 grams per pound is somewhere in there. Is a good goal, and again, play around with it. Figure out what works for you. And the rest, carbs. Again, maybe you're like fattier foods, so you're going to go more fats and cut back on your carbs. Maybe if you're like more carbs and less fats, again, you're going to have to play with this stuff. It's individual. I can't coach you right here from this. That's what coaching is for. And we figure that out in my coaching, what's going to work best for you. But if you're working on your own, it's up to you to figure that out. So you want to be eating all of them. Proteins, carbs, and fats, and then get your micronutrients too. The vitamins, the minerals, iron, magnesium, vitamin B, all the vitamin Bs, vitamin C, all that stuff. You want to get all that. That's where you get from these real foods, where you don't get from a lot of the ultra-processed junk that you eat all the time. So Now we know we need to be in a surplus. We know we need to eat whole nutrient dense real foods. We know we need to eat the macros. We need to get our proteins, carbs, and fats. How do we eat more? How do we get more healthy foods without having to worry about adding extra calories from ice cream and cookies and stuff like that? Focus on calorie dense foods. Fats are more calorically dense, so eating fats are going to give you more calories. So there's 9 calories per gram of fat about. So think, if you need some extra calories to get over that surplus, fats are a good way to go. Things like adding, maybe it's like having a peanut butter sandwich, or scooping in extra peanut butter, maybe some peanut butter, natural again, good quality peanut butter, almond butter, any nut butters, a handful of nuts. Sounds weird, but yes, eat a handful of nuts every day or between meals. That could be an extra way to get some calories. Olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, those are calorically dense. You can put it on your meat. You can put it on your potatoes or your rice. Butter, you can put that on that type of stuff. You can put it in a shake. You're not going to taste it really. And that's another way. If you struggle to get for protein, add a protein powder, a good quality isolate, with minimal ingredients is a good way to get some extra protein. 25, 30 grams with a scoop. Add one of those a day. There's 25 extra grams of protein. So that's a simple way to help. Again, you want to go with whole nutrient real foods, but again, if you have a good quality protein powder, again, that is processed. A lot of processing. That can be very beneficial, but you don't need it. You can get it from real foods. So, but again, it's going to fill you up. But think of foods you're trying to eat more. Maybe it might come down to having more meals during the day. If you typically do the typical American diet, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, your 3 meals, maybe those you keep those meals, but you add in a little snack here, a snack between breakfast and lunch, a snack between lunch and dinner, or another meal. Add in a little bit more meals. Could be like they said, the nuts and some more protein with an apple, something like that, or another piece of fruit. But just finding ways to sneak in more calories, because yes, it can be tough to sit down and have 2 whole steaks at a meal. That's a lot of meat, a lot of chewing, because chewing your jaw gets tired after chewing a lot. So it's not as easy to eat as much. So we're just trying to find different ways to get more calories in. Like I said, that's where the liquid calories could come in with a protein shake. You put your scoop of protein, mix that with, even add some milk. They add a little bit more calories. Whole milk, more calories than like skim milk. It's like 150 calories per cup of milk, a whole milk, and I think it's like 80, 90 for skim milk. So look at these different options, different foods that are more calorically dense. But again, with the fats like nuts and nut butters, it's easy to overeat that. I could eat a whole jar of peanut butter each day if I want to, but I don't. Because I know it's just going to make me fat, because I'm not going to feel the greatest. Yes, can peanut butter be a good quality nutrition source? Yes, but again, it's easy to overeat. A handful of almonds, that's easy to overeat almonds. They're calorically dense, but it's just easier to eat more of them. So finding and that's again, finding your foods that kind of trigger you as well. You're going to eat too much. So finding foods that are easy to eat a little bit more of. For proteins, maybe it's something like a Greek yogurt or a cottage cheese, something that doesn't involve a lot of chewing. That can be a great way to get in, or like protein powder, or mixing protein powder in your Greek yogurt or cottage cheese. That can be things, or making little snacks that are a lot of calories that are easy, like kind of like one I do is peanut butter oatmeal balls. It's just peanut butter, oatmeal. If I want to put in some protein powder, and then either honey or pure maple syrup. Those are calorie bombs, so that can add some good quality calories, give you some energy, give you some fuel there to get up to that surplus. But again, it's kind of takes preparation and planning, and not just going willy nilly and winging it. Having a plan, having an idea, prepping your food and preparing it ahead of plan rather than just, oh, it's time for lunch. What am I going to eat today? Kind of having an idea before. You don't have to necessarily be meal prep like I do. That's what works for me. If it doesn't work for you, then that's totally fine. You got to experiment and figure out what works for you to keep you on track and keep you disciplined and make sure you're building muscle, eating that surplus. But finding things that can add extra calories. So you got the liquid calories, you got the nuts, nut butter, those calorically dense foods, and finding foods that, again, you can eat more of, whether it's a protein, like maybe you can eat a lot of ground beef. Maybe you can eat a lot of chicken. We're all different. Maybe it's salmon. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's tuna. Whatever you can eat. And the main thing is find stuff you enjoy eating, that it's not a chore to eat. A lot of people I've talked with, oh, it's a lot of hard work to eat. Yeah, it can be hard work and it can be tough, but if you enjoy the foods, you're gonna look forward more to eating rather than, oh, I gotta go eat again. I've eaten too much, that type of thing. Where you're actually looking forward, oh, I get to eat this delicious meal. It's gonna help me build muscle, be strong. So find things that you enjoy, find foods that you look forward to eating. Maybe it's even going out to a meal with a friend or your buddies or your significant other or whatever it may be, and enjoying a meal with them. That can be, because food is not just fuel. Yes, in this terms, we're looking at food as a way to build muscle, but food is tradition, food is socializing, and enjoying it too. So you got to do that. I think that's another thing to help want to eat more, is to enjoy the foods you're eating. And it could be cooking your favorite meal, or creating new recipes and trying new things, or making your own, if you've got a sweet tooth like I do, making your own desserts, whether it's those peanut butter balls I was talking about, or your own peanut butter cups, or your own cottage cheese ice cream like I do all the time with my creamy. Just different ways to experiment and find things you enjoy. Because I think most people who are active don't eat enough as it is. And we're talking about eating more, because a lot of times people get off processed food and stop eating fast food, and then they're not eating enough sodium, they're not eating enough food in general. So they lose all this weight, and then they just get their energy drained. So making sure we're eating in surplus, spreading out meals, finding how many meals works for you. Maybe it's eating bigger meals. Maybe you're one of those people who can eat bigger meals and just adding more. Easier ways when it comes to carbs is get carbs that you can eat more of. White rice. Maybe it's oatmeal. Rather than a half a cup of oatmeal, boom, go a whole cup of oatmeal with your breakfast or whatever it may be whenever you eat oatmeal. So upping the serving size can help a little bit. So instead of 4 ounces of chicken, you're having 6 ounces of chicken. Half a cup of rice, you're having a full cup or 3/4 a cup. Again, it's all going to depend on how much you need. But just upping the proportion sizes a little bit can be huge in just getting in more calories. Instead of 1 banana, have 2 bananas. Those types of things. Just adding a little bit more along with the more calorically dense foods can be a big thing. So it comes down to working at it and making sure you're doing it, because a lot of people just put it off as, oh, it's too hard, I'm not going to do it. That's just the typical person these days. They don't want to do any work. They want everything done for them, when especially something like this, like your nutrition, your health, you control most of that. You control whether you're super morbidly obese or you're lean and mean and strong. You control that for the most part, unless you have some rare disease that causes you to be fat. Being fat is a choice. It's a choice of having good habits, good discipline, and eating well, moving a lot, sleeping well. That's what it comes down to. And building muscle is no different. You gotta work for it, unless you're just a steroid person. But even steroid users, they have to work hard. They just can recover quicker. But if we're trying to eat more, trying to think any other things too. We talked about meals. We talked about calorically dense foods. We talked about upping serving sizes. Even just doing your other habits can help if you're going for walks more, like that's going to make you hungrier. Again, you're burning more calories, but you're also going to want to eat more. So if you're just moving a little bit more, yes, you're going to be burning more calories, but you're also going to be hungrier. I find the more that I walk, the hungrier I am. So if I'm moving more, I want to eat more. So yeah, if you struggle to eat, can have that, because you're not going to burn a ton of calories walking, but can get that appetite up a little bit. So maybe you want to eat more. It's finding finding foods that you can eat more of and you want to eat more of. But it is definitely doable. It's the best way to go. That, again, I don't want to call it a clean eating. Just eating normal, eating real food is the best way to go to add muscle, because you're not going to add a ton of fat if you're doing it right. If you're not eating 10,000 calories when you only need 3,500, that type of thing. So, and again, eating more real food is going to regulate how much you eat anyway. If you're eating that, because of you're not going to have all the extra cravings. You're not going to want to eat a ton more, and you're not going to need to eat a ton more. You can eat less good quality food and get better results, as if you're eating 10,000 calories worth of Oreos and Pringles and Doritos. Because the real food, again, fills you up, gives you the nutrients you want. And that's one thing too, to help build muscle. You're going to want the other nutrients, not just protein. Protein, yes, protein's huge. But you're going to get the other things that your muscles need to fuel your cells, your organisms, and your brain needs to function properly with the nutrient-dense foods that you're eating. So, again, eating in a surplus, it's not going overboard and eating in a huge surplus. You're eating a few hundred calories is a good start. And again, work your way up. Meet yourself where you're at. You're eating your macros, you're getting your protein, your carbs, your fats, finding what within that works for you based on what you like, what you don't like, whether you're more carb person, more fat person. You're probably not going to want to be fasting all the time if you're trying to build muscle and be in a surplus. You're not going to want to be skipping meals. Again, you can't skip breakfast. The first meal you eat is breakfast, unless you fast forever and don't eat at all. That's the only way you skip breakfast. And again, I'm not saying fasting is bad. I'm just saying if you want to build muscle, fasting is probably not the way to go. You don't need to rely on millions of supplements. Figure out what the meal plan works for you. If you can do it in 3 meals, 3 bigger meals, great. But it might be better to do 4 or 5 meals, adding a few more meals just to get more calories. And if it's tougher for you to just sit down and eat a nutrient-dense meal, it can be tough. A lot of work, a lot harder than just eating, again, that bowl of ice cream. So figure out the amount of meals, spread out, add a few smaller meals, can help. Get those calorically dense foods. Those fats are more calorically dense: nuts, nut butters, the oil, the good oils, avocado oil, coconut oil. The swaps, you can find swaps for maybe you like 2% milk. Go 2% to whole milk. Boom, there's 50 more calories. in a serving or whatnot, or just adding the portion size, upping from 4 ounces to 6 ounces chicken, like I said, half a cup to a cup of rice, half a cup to a cup of oatmeal. Those types of things. Those small little changes can make big differences. Maybe it's adding that liquid protein to get your protein up, a protein shake, or adding a scoop of protein to Greek yogurt, and finding sources that you can eat more of, like the softer proteins that you don't have to chew. Maybe it's eggs, maybe it's Greek yogurt or cottage cheese, those types of things that doesn't take a lot of work to actually chew and break down, so you can just put it in your mouth and swallow it. That can be other things. So if you truly want to add calories and do it the right way, or the best way, I should say, in eating actual food, you can do it. There's no, I've done it. I'm working on it right now. I'm getting back into it after kind of being in a deficit for a little while, which probably wasn't the best choice in the summer anyway. But eating more, again, you're going to have to play around with it too, because especially if you're active, in the summer, you're sweating a lot. It's going to take more work because you're going to need more calories. Again, too often people eat too few calories as it is, and metabolism is going to go up when you're eating more calories, you're eating more food. But definitely is the best way to go, to quote unquote the clean way of eating, or just eating like humans are meant to eat, real foods. You can do it, but again, up your proportions, spread your meals out, figure out how many meals works for you, calorically dense foods, eat your proteins, eat your carbs, eat your fats, play around with what you need for that, what you like for that, what works for you, how you're feeling, because again, you might notice things, oh, this food makes me bloated, or this food, too much of this clogs me up, too much of this, I don't sleep well. Because you still want to be dialed in your training. You want to be dialed in on your sleep. And the whole thing is an experience. It's learning about yourself, what works for you. And those things can even change over time. You might get sick of eating something for a long time, and then it's like, I need to find something new. So be that constant experiment. Be that constant scientific project, you might say, and figure out what's going to work for you, and keep adapting, keep changing, keep learning about yourself and growing. And if you ultimately want to grow muscles, I don't have much of them. I have a little bit of muscles. But again, I'm always learning, always growing and learning too. So eating a surplus is certainly something you can do. It takes work. It takes discipline, like anything. It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. And if it happens overnight, it's probably a lot of water weight. It's probably a lot of fat. Probably a lot of just undigested food. So if you gain 10 pounds overnight, I've done that. Christmas, you eat a lot of cookies and other stuff. You gain 8-10 pounds. Then you poop it all out over the next few days, and then you're back to normal. So again, it's not going to happen overnight. It takes a lot of time. Shorter goals or smaller goals as far as weekly weight gain means you're probably building more muscle. Again, use the scale, use the mirror, use measurement formula as DEXA scans or whatever, just taking a tape measure and measuring your body parts. But the mirror is probably the best way to use it, or progress photos to notice the muscles growing, your muscularity in your body and that type of thing, your leanness. So those are some tips. That's kind of how to eat to gain muscle. If you guys have any questions, drop them below. Send me an email, trevor@tagpn.com. Hopefully this helped a little, guys. We can always do a second video or more videos on this if you guys want it. But let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Hope this helped, and we'll talk to you again soon.